Good evening, my name is Kacper Paradowski and you're watching Poland Daily News. Tomorrow morning, Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki is to deliver an exposé of his government in the Sejm. Afterwards, speeches of individual parliamentary clubs are planned, and in the evening, voting on the vote of confidence for the new cabinet of Prime Minister Morawiecki will take place.
The opposition wants to hear concrete facts about the state of the Ministry of Finance and the country's budget, as well as the Prime Minister's ideas for resolving the most pressing issues, for example the functioning of the healthcare system and the retirement pension system. In tomorrow's speech, Prime Minister Morawiecki is allegedly going to focus on economic matters, namely investments in infrastructure, for example the central transport hub and the new ring roads in most of Poland's major cities. I remember Prime Minister Morawiecki's exposé from 2 years ago when he first held the office, and I can tell you that he hasn't fulfilled any of the promises he made back then. Now he has extended time to fulfill them, and we will see if he addresses them at all or proposes new solutions. The opposition made a poor judgment of the promises we made, because not only have we fulfilled them, we've done more than we aimed for. We are a reliable government and was represented by the unprecedented trust of the voters, who gave us 43% of the votes to the parliament.
The Civic Platform Party previously announced presidential primaries in its grouping. It seems, however, that this will not come into effect, as no one leader is willing to be the proverbial heir for Małgorzata Kidawa-Błońska. According to commentators, this situation is favourable for the party's chairman, Grzegorz Schetyna, as it allows for his maintaining control over the party. Who will be Andrzej Duda's main rival in next year's elections? The idea of the presidential primaries in the Civic coalition did not catch on effectively, as there are no willing candidates. According to media reports, despite the incentives offered, neither the new Senate Marshal Tomasz Grodzki nor Radosław Sikorski or Rafał Trzaskowski are eager to participate in the primaries. At this stage, anyone can announce their candidacy. We are waiting until tomorrow, November 19th. It is not known whether anyone will come forward except for Małgorzata Kidawa-Błońska. If not, on December 14th, a national convention will be held for around 1,000 people for choosing a suitable candidate. Everything is ahead of us. These elections are not just for insiders of the Civic Platform Party. We want to hear the voices of the Polish men and women. We want to see who they would like as candidates for the office of president. According to Ryszard Czarnecki, MEP of Law and Justice, the idea of the presidential primaries in the Civic coalition was political fiction from the very beginning. 1,200 people will be able to vote and state their opinions. Anyone from functionaries, activists, parliamentarians to people who have functions in local structures. Not all members will be able to participate. As you can see, these are very controlled elections, but it seems that there is one candidate who stands out among others. Although this desire for candidacy may only serve as a reminder of oneself, a cry of "I'm still here." This was mentioned and promoted by other candidates, Minister Sikorski above all. Tomorrow, November 19th, is the deadline for announcing candidacy for the primaries, which will ultimately select the Civic Platform Party's candidate for presidency. The party's final decision in this matter is to be made on December 14th. As of today, only Małgorzata Kidawa-Błońska has explicitly declared that she will participate in them. The Confederation Party, on the other hand, has no shortage of candidates for the presidential primaries. 9 politicians associated with the formation will run in the electoral primaries. These primaries are in fact the biggest debate, the largest representation of possible options on the ideological right in recent years. This is what polls expected of us, and we are implementing it today. 9 candidates in the presidential primaries. Out of those whom we invited to participate in these primaries, those 9 responded positively. We have 3 people that have already participated in the presidential election, so we have a group of experienced and energetic leaders. There will be plenty to choose from. Today, the United States capital, Washington, D.C., is hosting a historical conference titled Poland First to Fight. The conference, organized by the Coalition of Polish Americans, is to last 3 days. The purpose is to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the outbreak of the Second World War. The conference is a gathering of historians, journalists, filmmakers, senior officials, museum curators and publishers. Chair of the program committee is Professor Marek Kornat from the Institute of History of the Polish Academy of Sciences in Warsaw.
The details of the conference can be found at the ipoland.org website. It is also live-streamed directly from the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. between November 18th to 20th, 2019. The link is available on Twitter under the Polonia SF account.
Profoundly damaging to Polish interests were constructed in close collaboration with Great Britain, whose leaders repeatedly made disparaging remarks about Poland. Lloyd George during the First World War, and later Churchill of England, Wilson and Roosevelt, and later Roosevelt as well. Need we mention, for example, the British refusal to allow Poles to be part of the 1946 Victory March in London.
Hundreds of thousands of Brazilians took to the streets yesterday to demand the impeachment of the Supreme Court judge Gilmar Mendes. Mendes is accused of going against the spirit of the law, freeing a number of corrupt politicians over the years from what were considered certain prison sentences. The latest example is the recent decision to free the former president Luiz da Silva from prison 7 years early.
Massive crowds gathered in over 300 Brazilian cities. The largest crowds could be seen at Avenida Paulista in São Paulo, the city's main street, which traditionally serves as the focal point for political protests in the city, as well as the famous Copacabana beach in Rio de Janeiro. A large march also took place in Vitória and the state of the Espírito Santo. Protesters argued that the Brazilian Supreme Court has been stacked with political operatives of the Socialist Workers' Party, which ruled the country for 11 years before the conservative president Jair Bolsonaro won the presidential election of 2018. More protests are expected in the coming weeks as the Supreme Court's decision to undermine years of anti-corruption work in the country has stirred up emotions among law-abiding Brazilians.
That is all for tonight. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for Poland Daily Business. Good night.